All right, guys. First of all, how fun it is to see you guys together. I have to admit that last night I watched it again. I love me some Fockers. I was so in. I was laughing like I did 20 years ago. And I was just wondering, like, what is it about that movie that you think holds up? Like, why does it still have that magic in a bottle? Ben, I'll start with you.
Oh my God. I have no idea. Other than I think it was a very relatable idea that everybody could connect with. And it was written very well and directed very well. And then it had Robert De Niro in it. So, you know, it had some good ingredients, I think. But you never know with a movie. You just never know what's gonna connect with people in that way. It's one of those movies for me. I actually watched it with my son. My son had never seen it, and we watched it recently. And I was like, you know, it's hard for me to watch myself. I don't know about you, Bob, or Blythe or Teri, but you know, there are moments in there I go, oh, actually, like that's really funny. I can get outside of myself, and because I think the movie's so well made.
What did you think was the funniest bit, Ben, when you watched it back?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, I remember the scenes that make me laugh and I don't laugh, like I don't make a habit of laughing at myself or watching myself and laughing, but like the scene where Bob corners me in the changing room and says, you know, I'll take you down to Chinatown. That always makes me laugh. And also I'd have to say Owen's scene with Bob when they go to Kevin's house and he's talking about his stock portfolio and how much Bob's loves Owen, so he loves him so much in that movie.
Bob, you know that I think you had the funniest line in the whole thing. Do you remember when Ben's character was talking about the cat milking days?
Yeah.
But your line, do you remember it exactly?
How could I not? You want to milk me too?
I have nipples, Greg.
Nipples.
You know, that was my only contribution in that scene. I remember because my grandfather had a milk business, and Ben in rehearsal was milking the cat like this, and I said, "Oh, Ben, the only thing I'm going to speak up about, I think you really have to milk it like that."
For that, because I feel like that was very authentic. It really got
Blythe, your character was too good to be true, man. I loved you. You loved your cranky husband. You loved your daughter. You were trying to love your future son-in-law. I mean, that wasn't easy.
To play a goody two shoes with this group. Well, you know, everything I got was just watching them. They were so hilarious. It just was constantly stifling. The only one that didn't laugh as much was our director. I would look at Jay and he'd be pacing and sort of holding his face, and I'd say, well, we're all laughing. What's the matter, Jay? But he was clearly...
What was the matter, Jay? What was it?
Concentrating.
I think I was a lot of times relating with Greg Focker and was totally in an anxiety dream and terrified that it was gonna, you know, all go to pieces. That's pretty much how I work on every project, so it's not unusual. But I'm sorry, Blythe, that I.
No, it was fine. You were focused. You were doing what I should have been doing, focusing.
I felt like every time you said the word Focker, like everyone was on the verge of like busting out laughing. Did you have a lot of those moments where you're just hanging on?
Yeah, who came up with Focker? The actual Focker name?
The story I heard, it happened that Jim Carrey, when Jim was going to work with Steven Spielberg on it at one point, that Jim Carrey actually came up with that name. But I'm not sure. We had two great writers, John Hamburg.
I have Jim to thank for that for the rest of my life.
Terry, when
I get on the street.
Oh, great.
Terry, I heard when they signed you to this film, they were like, look, you do not even have time to go home and pack a bag. We need you to start like stat. Was that really the play?
Yeah, I actually went on tape on a Friday here in Los Angeles. And then on Sunday October 31st. It was Halloween, and I was in full witch garb scaring the kids when I got a phone call saying they want to fly you on the red eye to screen test with Ben Stiller and Robert De Niro tomorrow morning in New York. So I got on that red eye and at 11 something and got in the morning and tried to sleep, but that was futile. And went and sat down at the table read with everyone on Monday morning. And then afterwards screen tested with Robert and Ben. And then they kept, I was there for Tuesday and doing some rehearsals. I was there for Wednesday doing some rehearsals, and they're like, we're waiting to hear. We sent the tape back to Los Angeles. We're waiting to hear. We're waiting to hear. And I think finally on Wednesday, we got the news that I was cast. So head home and pack your bags. On Friday, I think it was. Head home, pack my bags, and flew back on Saturday or Sunday, something like that, to start filming on a Monday. So it was Hollywood. It was a Hollywood story. It was
Man,
great.
whirlwind, and kind of scary working with Robert De Niro, I would think. I mean, you guys had never worked with him before. You must have been, we knew him from The Godfather. Were you intimidated, Ben?
Yes. I don't think Bob did anything to help me out with there. His method acting worked. It was, Bob was one of my favorite actors growing up. I was incredibly excited, but also nervous. And I remember the first day that we shot together was the scene where we meet. I think it was the scene where we meet for the first time at the doorstep. And Bob said, "So I know." I said something like, "Oh, this is a nice house" or something. And I like kind of looked up at the house, and Bob like saw me look up, and he like looked behind him, like, "What am I looking at?" And he like reacted, and I cracked up in his face. I just started laughing, and and then started sweating because I was like, I can't believe I'm breaking character on the first scene, the first line. He's gonna think I'm just the worst. But then like there was a moment, and then you smiled, and then I felt okay, it's all right. But from then on, I never felt any more comfortable actually. But it was, it was so much fun every day to be doing scenes. And then when, to be with Teri, it was great because it was sort of like, it was a relief from that because I felt like, okay, here's somebody that I can relate to. And Bob was, I think it was perfect for the movie, because I didn't really have to act.
You were really scared.
Yeah.
Did you sense that, Bob? Did you get that Ben was a little freaked out by you?
No, Ben was great. He has a way of reacting with a deadpan expression and whatever, but he's commenting on whatever is happening to him at the same time. Which is very funny. No, I had a great time with everybody. I mean, we had a good time.
One of my favorite scenes, Ben, was, I'm sorry, it was when you were sitting at the table and you had to lead the family in prayer. And I just watched it again last night.
Yeah.
There was something about, once you started stumbling through the prayer, it was hilarious, but there was something about the day by day, day by day. That was brilliant. Was that all scripted for you?
I'm pretty sure that was written. Jay, wasn't that written?
Yeah, it was. Jane Rosenthal, actually, one of the producers, had the idea of him trying so hard to just fit into this Christian family that he would kick into any prayer he knew, which was that song, which he had overheard in the drugstore. And then, but it's one of the great things about his character. He's always kind of being the architect of his own disaster, his own humiliation. So, it was really funny to watch. But I actually watched during the time he's doing the prayer, watching all of you guys, Teri and Blythe and Bob, all reacting to that prayer. The reaction shots while he's digging his own grave are some of the best moments, in the whole film. Just how they couldn't believe what was going on.
Yeah, Blythe, your face was priceless during that prayer. I love that one. And I also think, Bob, when you were reading that poem or the song for your mother who'd passed away, and you were like, everyone was encouraging you, read the poem, and you got up there and you started just reading this poem that, I mean, quite frankly, it sounded like a fifth grader had written it, but you did it with all this emotion and it was tearful. I mean, tell me about that scene, what you remember.
I don't remember much about it actually.
Really?
But no, I mean, I'm like, yeah, you're reminding me, but no, I knew that it had to be done with sincerity, of course,
Yeah.
because that would
Yeah.
make it funnier if you could do it right in a right, sincere way. That's all that I remember, and it was great to do.
Mhm.
That was
Well,
it.
and Jinxie was a big hit on the set. Who really loved Jinxie? Raise your hand for real. For real.
I never got to know Jinxie. I think we were in different
I
scenes.
felt no connection.
You felt like you were connected.
More of a
They
dog.
actually
dog.
had a couple of different cats that I knew that we used. And what was funny is that one of them afterwards was adoptable, and my mother ended up adopting one of the Jinxies.
Are you
Oh,
kidding?
Really? Oh.
Remember that? That's great.
She had it for a few years afterwards. It was ill. It wasn't well, and so they couldn't
Oh.
use it in the business anymore. And she ended up adopting it. Little
Wow.
tribute. Yeah.
Now, Bob, did you run around with kibble in your pocket because you were really having a moment with Jinxie?
No, but
That's another false statement. Dang, you're feeding me bad info here.
Bob was close to that cat, though. He actually asked about it at the end, what was going to happen to it. I always thought he was going to be the one who adopted it. But what I loved about Jinx was that he was a weird extension of Jack Burns, and that it felt like Jinx was watching everybody too. And so Greg Fokker, who doesn't like cats, had a suspicion about Jinx. And the relationship that Bob had.
I don't think Greg doesn't like cats. He's just more of a dog person.
Yes, of course. That's correct. But he was so. I thought you got close to that cat, Bob. You could get him to do things that even the trainer couldn't get him to do, like that little wave.
oh God, I forgot. But I like animals, and I like cats, and I like dogs, and I have plenty.
I remember that, Jay. I remember that too. That Bob, you did have a connection with the cat, and you were able to get it.
Really, kind of.
Yeah.
Backing you up. Okay.
Well, I'm not
The
surprised.
scene where the house burns down and Ben, you're on the roof and you're grabbing the cat, you're smoking the cig, and literally in moments everything just is in flames. That looked like a perfect scene. Jay, how tough was that to orchestrate?
It was really well rehearsed. That was the one thing where we storyboarded it over and over. We wanted it to be a kind of silent movie set piece almost. And again, we'd set up that he, was worried about losing Jinx because he knew how much Jack Burns cared about the cat. So it was kind of an anxiety dream of what happens if I lose the cat of the guy that I'm trying to impress. And he just keeps making it worse and worse, lights the rain gutter on fire and kicks that down and burns up the chuppah, which is carved out of one piece of wood by Owen Wilson. And so it's all set up to be, a big physical thing. But it was really Ben who just experiencing that through Ben's eyes and how great he was at capturing the terror, the fear, and how he would overcompensate and do too much and just keep making it worse. That physical comedy of that scene was really satisfying to pull off.
I think that's what Jay, Jay is a real scientist when it comes to comedy. And, like Blythe, you're saying saying that he doesn't laugh off camera. It's he's like watching everything. And like, if something's funny, Jay he'll kind of like nod and go, "That's very funny."
It's true.
But so he's really looking at it literally as an equation, and he's figured it out. And so you just kind of like, it's a great thing as an actor because you can kind of trust that you're, in someone's vision who really knows what they're doing. And all I remember though from that sequence, Jay, was that I don't smoke in life, and I had to smoke these cigarettes. I remember getting so sick smoking the cigarettes. And also, as I watched the movie, I'm such a bad movie smoker. Like Bob is a cool movie smoker. I'm the worst. So I look at that and I just think, oh, I really look like a guy who doesn't really smoke.
All right, so we've had a couple of sequels. Are we all done with this little movie, or do you think there's still another one out there for you guys? Bob?
I'm game. We had talked. There was some talk about it. I think it would be great, with Hamburg writing and Jay would be, and Jane producing and all the cast. I'm for it.
Okay, we got Bob in. All right. Blythe, are you in?
Well, in a wheelchair, yeah. A walker.
Now Greg's in a walker now too. Great hair, Greg.
All right, you in, Ben?
I'm always open to the opportunity to work with these people. And I think it always just comes down to, is there a good idea, an idea that's, that makes sense. And that, but the chance to do it again with everybody.
Such a great
Great
cast.
experience, all of them doing them.
Yep. Terry,
I'm just riding the coattails, so whatever they say.
ride that toboggan. Oh, Jay.
You're like a producer, Hoda. You're clinching the deal right
I'm
here.
just trying to do it. Come on. We need something this is going to end our piece.
Do you have an idea?
Yeah, do you have an idea for us?
I'll get it to
Maybe
you.
use a new predicament. Just if you come up with a great predicament for Greg Fokker and all the
We'll all
cast.
be voting. We'll all be voting.
Yes, we will.
Listen, in today's world, I'm sure there are a lot of families where you go home and don't know how well it's going to go based on political differences. So it's in a lot of ways, it's a more relevant story than it's ever been.
All right, so we've got our storyline, people. All right, so you guys, thank you so much. I know you guys have places to go. I really appreciate your time, and we'll see you on the Today Show.
Great to see everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Great
Great.
seeing you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Hi, guys.
Here.